everybody, PT Gazell. Welcome to SPAH 2017 in Tulsa. We're at the Hyatt Regency, and I got one of my good friends with me today. This is Chris Bauer. Hey, Chris, how you doing?
Good to see you, brother.
I actually refer to you most of the time as Chris Big Note Bauer because, I mean, you're like a monster on the damn thing.
Thank
man.
you, sir.
It's you got more chops than a butcher shop.
Which is a quote on my website, actually.
From me.
Yes.
For me, as I remember.
Yes, absolutely.
How you been?
I'm good. I'm good.
I
How are
haven't
you?
seen you like in person for like what, a couple of years
It's been a while.
least,
Actually,
huh?
the last spa I got to was Virginia Beach, so that's like 2012, 2011.
Holy cow, is
Yeah,
it
it's been
that
a while.
long?
It's been a while. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So.
But it's
I mean,
good to be
look,
back. It's
you
good
look
to
good,
see everybody.
man.
Thanks. Yeah,
You look good.
Patty, forced me into losing some weight. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're carrying it good. I mean, because you don't look like anorexic.
Well, I was there for a while, actually.
Were you?
People look at me. They used to call me waif-like.
Oh man.
Yeah. They said I look sick, but
I
anyway.
personally don't have that problem.
Well, it's okay.
So, there was a couple things I wanted to talk to you about. One is, and I don't know, not a lot of people know this, but your dad actually played with the Harmonic Kings.
Yes, he did.
Didn't he?
Yep.
And he played chord.
Played chord harmonica.
Is that right?
Yes.
So,
yes.
like, you were around this, because he used to take you
Since
to
birth.
gigs, right?
Yeah, since birth, yeah.
What was that like?
So, well, the way it started was, I grew up, and Dad had his own harmonica trio called the Harmonic Kings back then. And it was Dad on chord, it was Gene Broglie on chromatic, and Hank Graham on bass. And they were working all over New York, New Jersey for years. And I grew up with it, but Dad never like forced it on me. He never came to me and said, "Hey, let me show you how to play it." Never.
Yeah.
So it was actually a result of him coming to a SPAH convention in Detroit, and I want to say it was 1969.
Okay.
And he came back and he was raving all about this kid that got up and played "Peg of My Heart" on the chord harmonica. He was 10 years old. Blah, 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 raving to my mother. Right?
Yeah.
On and on. This kid was great. He was great.
Yeah.
Well, the kid was Rocky Erickson.
Okay.
And so here I am, I'm like, I'm not going to let some other kid get my father's attention, So I go taking one of his chords out and started fooling with it one day. And he comes home. He says, "Would you like me to show you a few things on that?" I said, "Well, sure." So that started it. I originally played chord a little bit.
Yeah.
And I remember I was in 6th grade. I did an assembly at school, and I played "Peg of My Heart" as a 6th grader to all the kids in the school. So, and that's what started it. Years went by, and the lead player of the Harmonic Kings left. And actually, before that, Dad started working me into the act.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So the first time I was on stage was. It was Dad, it was Gene and Hank, and they got booked at this music camp for kids upstate New York.
Yeah.
And the guy that sponsored it, he was just a philanthropist and wanted to, spread music to kids.
Okay.
So he books the Harmonic Kings to come up and play. It's a Sunday afternoon, upstate New York, in a big barn, right?
Right.
So in the barn there was a stage on one side, and big barn full of kids all sitting Indian style, watching them play. So the deal was that I was going to come up and play 3 tunes with Dad's group. I'd rehearsed with them, a couple of weeks before, all excited. It's like
I see a disaster
yeah,
coming.
yeah. So it was never on Sunday or something else, whatever it was. So finally they get to that part of the show, right? And Dad says, "Well, kids, I have a big surprise for you." He says, "My son's your age, Okay, so he said, "Chris, come on up," right? So I worked my way through this crowd of kids. Now to get on this stage, there's about 3 steps, right? Well, the lip on the top step was just a little further out than the rest. And I had harmonicas in hand. I go running up, trip on it, face first, flat on the stage, harmonicas skidding all over the stage, right? So what does a barn full of kids do? Bust out laughing like Charlie Brown, right?
Oh gosh.
So I get up, I'm picking my harmonica, straighten my shirt out, and I'm lower lip quivering, And I go walking up to the mic, and Dad lowers the stand, and he looks at me and goes, "Welcome to showbiz, kid."
That's perfect.
Yep. So a number of years later,
perfect.
Gene had left the act, and at that point I had learned most of the songs. So Gene came over to the house, taught me the rest of the tunes I needed to know, and I became the lead player at 16 years old.
So you always wanted to play the chromatic?
Yeah, I was drawn to that. I mean, I played chord a lot.
But that was what you wanted to play. You wanted to play the chromatic.
Yeah. I really kind of went to chromatic. Yeah. I like playing melody. I like that more. So and I mean, I played them all through those years. So
I know what I was going to ask you, and all the times we've played, jam together, and just listening to you play. Besides doing octave splits, do you normally play pucker style?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you're not really a tongue blocker.
No.
Is that something? And this is my ignorance, not playing chromatic. Do most chromatic players play pucker, or are there famous guys that have played tongue blocking predominantly?
I'll tell you, actually, most of the older school guys, like Jerry, Pete Pederson, they all tongue block.
They all tongue blocked.
All of them, yeah.
And would swear up and down if you asked them that
The only
that's
way to
how
play.
they got the tone.
That is how that's what they would say.
Yeah.
So, but I play pucker, but it's funny. My pucker is not. I learned how to open my throat at the same time, so it's a very flat kind of, like a trumpet player sort of approach. So it's very open in here.
Play a little something. Play a little something.
So yeah, like a typical pucker might have a thinner, like a right, but I open this all up, so it's like a. And
I don't know. I don't know if that's translating through, the audio here, but
Right.
I definitely hear the difference.
There is a difference.
I definitely hear that.
Yeah, but I liked pucker, and I tried to learn tongue block in the beginning, but I found it to be so cumbersome. First of all, I like it's like you naturally want to have things that dead center. When you tongue block, everything's off to the right.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, that's a little weird.
I'll tell a story on me just because, and show you my ignorance, because nobody ever showed me anything about the instrument. I picked one up and just started playing.
Right.
Okay. And taught me, and I looked at it and they went, well, this has got tiny holes, so I got to make my mouth tiny to play a single note. What did I know?
Right.
And I wasn't playing blues, so I wasn't exposed to, like trying to figure out what am I hearing and how are they doing. I was playing melodies.
Right.
So years and years and years later, not like 3 months into the process, years later, somebody goes, "Do you tongue block or do you know?"
It's like, what are you
talking
talking
about? And they said, "Well, you got to put your." I said, "Why would you put your tongue on the harmonica?"
Right, to get one note out of one side. Makes
Yeah.
no sense. Although, so the way I understand the history of that, knowing how the goofy tuning system is on a diatonic,
Right.
if you accompany yourself,
Yes.
it makes sense.
Oh no, it absolutely does.
But that's where it comes from. And now, why do chromatic players just carry that over into the chromatic world? I don't get it.
tone,
Yes and no, yes.
the thought process.
But I think you can
about
get the tone without it. I think you can
Yeah.
get, with pucker, you can get tone.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's different. You got to do a lot of work. You got to be mindful about it, but you can do it.
I want to ask you though, when you were when you were small, when you were like 10, and your dad would take you to the after you got into playing.
Mm-hmm.
So when you went to like these other shows, or when you were around Jerry Murad or something, were they like badgering or like saying, no, you're not doing that right? Or
No, just the opposite. Actually, in the beginning, Jerry came to our house. Dad
Okay.
worked at Honer,
Yeah.
and in Hicksville on the island back then. And I was playing a couple of years. I was still, this little 5th, 6th grade kid, right?
Yeah.
And I remember my mom saying, your dad's bringing somebody special home for dinner. I said,
Okay.
oh, okay, So car pulls up and they both get out. Now, of course, I had the old Harmonic records with a very
Sure.
young Jerry picture. Right?
Sure.
So this guy gets out of the car.
Who
and I
is
look, I was
this?
like, who is this? I was like, oh, it's some friend of Dad's. So he walks up to the door and we open the door and he shakes. He says, hello, young man. My name's Jerry Murad. And I was like, so Jerry was always supportive. Always
Really?
Yeah. He, when I was a kid, I remember me and a buddy of mine in school, we formed a little group. We wanted to call ourselves the Harmonic Juniors. So Dad says, you better ask Jerry if you can do that. So I wrote him a letter.
Yeah.
And I said, and he wrote a letter back, says, you have my permission, you can use the name. And I said, oh, great.
Great.
So it was pretty cool. And of course, as the years went on, when Dad played with him, I had opportunities with Jerry that nobody got. To sit with this guy, and he would just, he'd tell me, like, play something. We'd he's driving his van, and play me something.
Yeah.
Take the harmonica out, start playing. He goes, why are you doing it that way? And he would just kind of,
He'd professionally
along.
guide you in the right way.
Yeah. The best thing was, we were in Connecticut. The Cats are playing in Hartford with the symphony up there with Heyman, and Jerry. We had some downtime on the afternoon. Jerry calls our room and he gets my father on the phone. He says, get your chord, get your kid, and get down here. Okay, so down we go. We go into Jerry's room, and he says, so we sit at the little round table in a hotel room, right? Yeah. And Jerry says, play Tender as the Night. Okay, so I got the harmonica out, and I was like, and he says, all right, stop. And looks at my father, says, get out of here, I got to fix him. And we spent 4 hours dissecting Tender as the Night, where Jerry taught me how to play a ballad.
Phrasing,
vibrato,
and emotional content,
all shaping, all of it for 4 hours. So we get done. He picks up the phone. He says, "Get your chord and get back down here." Okay. So Dad comes back in, and we play Tender as the Night again. So we finish it. So Dad looks at Jerry, he goes, "Who is this guy, and what'd you do with my son?" So it was, but
that's
rare
really
stuff.
cool though, because I mean, what you just, and I've never heard that story from you. That's really cool because, you know, people want to know how I do what I do, and I show them, you know, people that take lessons from me. You know, after 4 or 5 lessons, the good, you know, people that have some musical aptitude and whatnot, get the technique, and they can do the valve bending, and they can start to, but they go, you know, I tell them now, you have to polish the sound. You're not polishing the sound. You're not thinking about phrasing. You're not thinking about emotional content. You're not thinking about what's the bass player doing why did I pick to do what I did against what he did, you know, so some of them the light goes off, some of them it doesn't happen.
So the key with that was along those very same lines. One of those times we were driving with Jerry somewhere, and he asked me not to play anything. He says, "Who do you listen to?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, I listen, you know, like Tony Bennett and Frank Sinatra." He goes, "Okay." He says, "Tony Bennett. Why do you listen to Tony Bennett?" I said, "It's Tony Bennett." He says, "You didn't tell me anything. Why do you listen to Tony Bennett?" I said, "Well, I really like Tony." He says, "What does he do
that you
what
like?"
you like?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, you know," I said, it's this, and he finally got it out of me. He says, "All right, listen, I'm going to give you a homework assignment." He says, "I want you to come back and tell me why you like Tony Bennett. Pick a song and tell me what you liked about it. His phrasing, his dynamics, his expression, all of it." Now, what that did is it taught me to have a real critical ear when I listen to anybody, whether it's Miles Davis, whether it's Coltrane, whether it's Sinatra, it doesn't matter. Listen to these people. And what is it that you like? Right?
And, you know, and people that like music, that don't play music, they identify with what you're talking about. They don't know why they do.
Right.
And being a musician, that's a great learning tool.
Of course.
What he had you do.
Of course, because now you can take that and use it.
Yeah, or
and apply it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, it took a long time. I mean, you know.
I still don't have it.
Well, there's a lot. I mean, I've been fortunate to be around a lot of musicians that acquired that early on in their 20s. I didn't. I was full of testosterone and watch how fast I can
watch
play.
what I can do.
Yeah, and if you're paying me by the note, I'm a rich guy.
Right.
You know, and then it changes. You know, it changes, and it just took me longer. That's all.
I hear you.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the new chromatic that that Seydel's got out. I know you have one. I mean, what do you think?
I took it to a gig, and I work with this guitarist who's he's meticulous with what we do, and you know, if I have a note that's not in tune, he'll catch it.
Oh yeah.
You know, so I said, "Look, so I got this new harp. We're gonna try it tonight." He says, "Okay." So he's also a sound guy, and he's an engineer too. So he's a sound guy, and he's meticulous. It's all his gear.
He's got an ear.
He's very meticulous, and in fact, he bought a specific preamp just to use on gigs I'm at. He runs my audix through.
I
that.
understand.
Right. So that's who he is.
Yeah.
So I take the harp out and I start playing, and he's sitting there. And he looks at me and goes, "That's a beautiful sounding harmonica." So that's got to be the warmest sounding harmonica I've ever heard you play.
Well, that's the right adjective, because I was fortunate enough to hear it, and actually, I mean, me playing it didn't mean anything except how it felt and how, and that was the adjective I used. I said warm.
Yeah, it's very warm sounding.
And rounded,
Yes.
I thought.
Yeah.
For ballads, for you, it's probably
Beautiful.
fantastic.
It's beautiful.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah. But I've heard from people demoing it in here, you know, and then I've heard you, I've kind of snuck up and eavesdropped listening to you do some stuff. The low end's very cool on this thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's all warm, and that's different. I mean, most harmonicas these days, like you know, they're going for the bright.
The bright.
And you know, but there's a lot to be said for the old 64s that are on a wood comb. You know, why? Because they're warm. Everybody likes to. You know, harmonica can get real harsh, real shrill, really fast, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, whenever, and we all know, like when you're playing live, you always have the EQ down a little bit on the high end because you're afraid right? You'll just scream at somebody. When you record, it's the same thing.
Oh, don't get me started on
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
You don't want to see the EQ I end up with before I put the record out.
Yep.
The record, listen to me. Hey kids, it's not a record anymore.
Actually, I'm doing it on thumb drives now. I'm not even bothered with CDs anymore.
I saw that. That's funny. Well, man, it's been great talking to you again.
Same here, man.
It's really fun to see. I know there's a jazz jam tonight. We'll have to play some.
We have to do something.
Yeah, I should play at least once while I'm at SPAH, right? Besides work.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah. Well, yeah. You know, and since I retired, work is a 4-letter word that ends in K, and I don't use that language anymore.
All right, man. Good to see you, Chris.
Good to see you, man.
Thanks, Brad.
Thanks.